from diagnosis to defeat. The two instruments identified were systematically destroyed Iqbal Latif, March 3, 2026. 3 days, 3 developments, one unbroken thread. On March 1st, I published The Illusion of Easy Victory, not advocacy, not ideology, structural diagnosis. I reduced Iran's regional power to exactly two operational instruments. 1. The ability to render Hormuz commercially unusable via the insurance mechanism. 2. The ability to hold the region hostage with 2 decades of accumulated missile capacity. My warning was mechanical. Until those two levers are neutralized, there is no clean exit. By March 3rd, both have been directly and systematically eliminated. Iran is not merely under pressure, it is undergoing the permanent degradation of the two tools that defined its deterrence architecture for 20 years. Iran has been defanged, not weakened, not degraded, defanged. The specific instruments of strategic threat have been permanently removed. Thread 1. Hormuz, the commercial weapon. The real power was never mines or speedboats. It was pricing uncertainty. Modern energy markets are insurance markets. One credible strike on a VLCC does not just sink a ship, it breaks underwriting models. Charterers freeze. Premiums become unpriceable. Traffic halts commercially long before it halts physically. Hormuz closes commercially before it closes physically. It closes when insurance becomes unpriceable. That is the leverage. The Illusion of Easy Victory, March 1, 2026. The countermove was not naval. It was financial. President Trump directed the U.S. Development Finance Corporation to provide sovereign insurance and guarantees for all maritime trade, including oil tankers transiting the Gulf. Washington nationalized the very risk premium that gave Tehran its leverage. Once sovereign credit backstops the uncertainty, private underwriters can withdraw and the strait still flows. Hormuz can no longer be commercially closed because the mechanism that made closure possible has been absorbed by the U.S. Treasury, without a single mine being laid. The instrument I identified on March 1st has been precisely neutralized by the exact countermeasure the analysis implied. Thread 2. The Missile Arsenal. CENTCOM's own numbers. For 20 years, Iran built a layered missile architecture: quantity, mobility, dispersion, underground storage, proxy integration. The goal was never conventional victory. It was unacceptable retaliatory cost. CENTCOM's official daily operational fact sheets now document the destruction. Targets struck in first 72 hours, 1,700 plus, confirmed across Iran. Mobile missile launchers destroyed. 200 hours dismantled. Roughly 50% of active fleet. Future missile production prevented. 1,500 additional ballistic missiles. Production line terminated. Naval vessels destroyed. 11 warships sunk, including Iris Jamaran frigate. Naval bases struck. Bandar Abbas, Chabahar, Bandar Mashar. Launch progression tells the story. Opening salvo, Feb 28. 150-200 ballistic missiles, Iran's maximum simultaneous volley. Barrages by March 3, 930 missiles per sporadic attempt. The degraded remnant, bomber escalation, confirms air defense collapse. B-2 Stealth, B-1 Lancer, B-52 Stratofortress. You do not send a non-stealth Cold War-era bomber the size of a building over a country that retains meaningful integrated air defense. The B-52 overhead is not merely ordnance delivery, it is a public declaration. The network no longer functions. 20 years of buildup. Iran was planning 8,000 missiles by 2027. That program, per CENTCOM, is over. Launchers are rubble. Production facilities are rubble. The verdict: a state without its two levers. What this does not mean: the civilization is not defeated. The theology of martyrdom is not extinguished. The grief is real. The anger across the Shia crescent is real. The memory of Karbala, righteous sacrifice against overwhelming force, is, if anything, more vivid today than on February 27th. What this does mean: the capacity to translate civilizational depth into strategic coercion is gone. Hormuz can no longer be held commercially hostage. Mass missile salvos can no longer be launched. The regime may survive, in some institutional form, under some successor, but it survives defanged. Whatever it declares, whatever its theology demands, any future provocation now triggers a response so overwhelming, so immediate, and so precise that even the hardest successor grasps the new arithmetic. A state that cannot credibly threaten is no longer a strategic power, it is a geography. For 20 years, every American president negotiated in the shadow of Hormuz. Every Gulf capital calibrated its security around Iranian missile range. That era has ended. What remains, and always will. The keys were never about death. They were about meaning, and a civilization that finds meaning in sacrifice does not calculate risk the way markets do. The illusion of easy victory, March 1st, 2026. The fangs are gone. The meaning endures. The image of young men walking minefields with plastic keys around their necks does not vanish because launchers have been destroyed. The coercive machinery that weaponized that meaning for political control, that is what has been dismantled. Iran emerges from these 72 hours as a 90 million person civilization, stripped of its military instruments, sitting astride the geography that connects the Gulf to the world, and with no plan anywhere for what it becomes next. The military defeat is total, is real, and it is only the beginning of the harder question. Iran has been defanged. The civilization endures. The capacity does not. That is the verdict of 3 days, written in CENTCOM's own numbers.